Previously on This Life Fits.
Aboard the Beagle Bee. And chain hoisted it. It's actually down there at the end of the dock now. Well,
loading up, heading out.
Finally got this thing in here. That was way more work than I had hoped for, but again, doing something with not the right tools. But she's in.
I'm walking down the street on clouds instead of the concrete I'm dancing through. Everything's about to come my way, nothing can ruin my day. No matter what anyone does or say, I smile at fools. No, I don't care, cause I am on my way up, and I won't stop, I won't slow down. Steady on my feet, I'm gonna rise up. No, I won't stop, it is my time. I know what it's like to be broke. I know what it's like when nothing goes your way. So I'm gonna let myself enjoy the fruit from this lucky day. Yeah, I am on my way up.
Closing in on upstate New York on our way to drop off the engine this morning. And before we get there, just a couple things that I wanted to take note on, or make sure we take note on when we get there. And the condition of this engine, we're going to tear this thing all the way down today, which is going to be cool. So we'll have a sneak peek into what it looks like, what wear over the 37 years or so that this engine's experienced, etc., etc. So a couple things we want to check out. We want to make sure the oil pan is in good shape, which I'm pretty sure it is, but we want to double check. We want to make sure there's the head gasket, is it compromised? Do we actually have, did the head gasket fail, and did we damage the heads at all? Which they're going to go to a machine shop anyway, but just curious if that happened. Want to make sure our injector pump is healthy, which again, no reason why it shouldn't. And remember, this engine ran just fine. It was an old diesel, but she ticked away. So, we pulled her out running. So we really don't have anything except for that oil leak. And another thing we want to do is a side-by-side comparison of that gear case. So we want to make sure the cover has, it's the same as what we're going to pull off of it. If not, that's going to be interesting. But again, I suspect it will be. I'm not overly concerned. So those are just some of the things we're going to look out for today when we tear this down. And it's going to be I'm really excited to see the internals of this. Again, it's been in the boat. It's original to the boat in '87, so I think it'll look really cool. Are you excited?
Yeah.
She's riding the struggle bus this morning. So anyway, onward to the engine. Got her tore down. At least partly already. Tim busted off the transmission here. Everything looked relatively good. Now the part comes where we're gonna pull the rest of this thing apart here. I tell you what, I am so thankful that I found somebody who knows what he's doing.
I gotta say, whenever we were evaluating options of what we were going to do about our engine, both either going electric or having this one refurbed or repowering, I was really nervous about finding the right person, the right mechanic to come in and do this job for us. And let me tell you, we found the right guy in Tim. We obviously, this is an opportunity for him outside of his normal work to make a living, and he's great at what he does. We drove up to New York the night before, and Lisa, the dog, the kid, everybody kind of just let loose on the property Tim shops on. And while we began tearing this engine down from top to bottom, did a lot of comparing of parts, and really what had been plaguing us this entire time was the front gear cover of this Universal M25XP, I spent countless hours scouring the internet looking for that gear case cover, and finally got really lucky just out of the blue one night, asking some folks on the Catalina 30 owners group if they had one available or if they knew anybody that had one available. And it just so happened that a gentleman down in Florida did, after he had an oil leak, just like many of these M25 25s and 25XPs do, and had an oil leak over the years. Took a gear case cover off, or found one on eBay off, I believe, off the Kubota D750, and stored it in his garage. Unfortunately, he lost his boat to some hurricane damage, but still had the cover. Sold it to me at a very fair price, and it was a perfect match. So as we continue to dig through the engine here and tear down past, we get the heads off and are really starting to dig into everything. We're starting to uncover some history about this motor, and unfortunately find some pretty significant damage. Tim and I are kind of going over what we want to do, or what our next steps should be here, and the parts we're going to need, and then really also trying to understand how the damage that occurred actually happened. So a lot here to absorb. Start writing lists, start doing some research while the engine's being torn down, to get ready to make this thing as good as it was brand new. So we're back aboard the Biggleby, and as I kind of alluded to during that time lapse, I want to be respectful of Tim and his time and the things we were discussing, because again, he was such a great individual to talk to. We talked a lot of things outside of just what was happening right then and there. I didn't want to throw a camera in his face too much. Again, he is doing me a phenomenal favor by tearing this down with me there, or at least most of the way. And unfortunately, though, we did find some significant issues, and by significant I mean we stopped in Deltaville right in time. We started off there, as I alluded to. We had our first hint of something going wrong, being the connecting the exhaust push valve, or the push rod rather, being bent. There's really not many reasons why that would be the case, outside of something that was resistance somewhere along the way. And then as we got deeper into the block, we observed that hole 2 had a little bit of a at TDC. It was a little lower than the rest of them, by just a little bit. So as we got deeper into the block, we determined that the connecting rod for piston 2 was bent. I will tell you the same thing that I've told Tim on numerous occasions. When we arrived here in Deltaville, we arrived under power. We set the anchorage out front here in Deltaville for a couple days, and then came to this slip all under power of this engine. To say we are incredibly lucky and fortunate we stopped when we did is an understatement, because it was the right decision to make, because this engine was really hurt. As we continue to work through the engine here on the teardown, we also find that there has been water in the lower bearings. We've started to get evidence of some water gone through something, and we're finding even a little bit of trace of rust on camshafts and things like that. So this was genuinely a very close call from a rebuild standpoint. So and then what we also found is is everything we've looked at. We rebuilt the water pump, and everything else we've looked at says that the water intrusion most likely came from the oil pan, which we've not talked about at all because I didn't realize it was a concern. But as we got to the bottom of the teardown here, on this time lapse, the oil pan was crusty. It was very thin. If we were to go through and complete a sandblasting of it, it's just going to blow through it. But right on the corner of that, the dipstick tube looks like it was allowing water in at that point. And those of you that know the Catalina 30s know that the water and the engine sits very close to the bilge. Any little bit of water in there has a tendency to sneak up on the bottom of that oil pan, and well, this oil pan had sat in some water for some time. Now, did the previous owner know that they have a bit rod? Maybe. Who knows? What's wild to me is we have motored hundreds of miles at this point. We motored from Cape May all the way to Northeast Maryland on an 18-hour run. I think pretty much all motor. And we motored from Cape May to Annapolis. Like, we've had some really wild times on this engine. Knowing it's hurt is it's surreal to me. So anyhow, that is going to wrap up this episode. I will tell you, this clip being filmed a little bit more real time, and I got a lot of great surprises coming up. But in the meantime, if you haven't already done so, like, subscribe, follow if you haven't, and we'll see you in the next one.
I'm walking down the street on clouds instead of the concrete. I'm dancing through. Everything's about to come my way. Nothing can ruin my day, no matter what anyone does.